Hello again. We were muted. So I'm going to reintroduce myself.
Which is good, because we just did something really stupid. Everybody
So I'm Rip Agastows, the Baron of Pixels at Neo Pangea, and our camera person's fired. Go home. No, you're done. With me I got Ben Curry. Why don't you introduce yourself?
I'm the Director of Custom Services at Berkey Construction, and Brett and I like to work together.
Yeah, we're partners in crime, except I get to be Batman. And this is our company support dog, Fraggle. Why don't you introduce yourself, Fraggle? Oh, lazy bastard. So this is Neo Pangea. We renovated this space, and we heard from a lot of people that they wanted to see inside because we're in Reading, Pennsylvania, and we don't get a lot of visitors. Come with me.
Do you want to tell everybody that this was a bank, Brett?
Oh, sure.
It was a bank.
This used to be a bank. So this is our old office space. As you can see, it's an open floor plan where people work next to each other. Now there's literally just one person here today because we're a hybrid work mode. Hey, Teresa. So before COVID, it worked fine, but then we started realizing, when we started working from home, we realized we needed, some quiet spaces, because if you have two people in here in a virtual meeting, it gets a little hard to hear what's going on. All right, thank you, Teresa. So that is why we built these. We call them Zoom rooms or pods. So you go into these quiet spaces and you can have private Zoom conversations with anyone virtually. And they're kind of, we imagine them as these portals into other worlds. We got, a room that is in space, or a room that's in an Aztec jungle. We got a medieval room, and then we have an old vintage submarine room.
And these were pretty much all figments of Brett's imagination, and then we worked together on getting a design put together. The irony here that I enjoy is that of anybody in the world that could make a really killer virtual background, these are the guys that could do it. And they instead chose to go with an actual physical movie set type of situation.
If something's not worth doing over the top, it's not worth doing. But we started, I vomited a bunch of crazy ramblings to him, and somehow he made sense of it in these beautiful drawings. What I think is the most clever thing about this is he actually made a little pop-up book. You could literally fold these and build a little miniature room, because this is the one side, this is the other side, and this is the floor. Don't tell him I said this, but he's kind of a smart guy. So this is our cabinet of the Mystic Arts, the cabinet of curiosities. So this is a hologram projection, and if you flip these buttons down here, you can actually change what you see on screen. I'm going to flip through them. This one we did for a Jane Goodall exhibit at National Geographic Museum. We animated this based off of sketches that Jane Goodall actually drew, and we told some of the stories that she saw when she was in Gander. And this is a phoenix from Harry Potter. We worked on the Harry Potter exhibition, and then this is space, because space is cool. And the cabinet's filled with a lot of things I collect over the years. I think that was kind of the inspiration of doing this here is my family wanted all my junk out of the house, so I made places to put it. So here, this is one of my favorites. This is actually for shock therapy. So you set your voltage and then you put these little guys on yourself. Emily, if you don't want to get fired because of your audio work, can I put this on you?
Sure.
Thank you. And this is a table we're still working on, so we're just going to show you some prototyping. But this was an old library table. I believe it was English, maybe 1800s, hand carved, beautiful piece. So we decided to rip it into pieces to use it for our own needs, even though it was gorgeous as it was.
And that's the fun part. Brett found this table. We came up with this idea together. We tried to figure out how to integrate really high-tech modern technology into this really antiquated piece of furniture. So we made a section on top that houses all the electronics and tried to blend it into the historic part there.
So these are pretty cool. These little pucks have these little dots on the bottom that simulate touches, and see how they're all in different configurations? Well, you can train the table to recognize the different ones. So these are 1, 0, 2, and when I turn it, I don't know if you can see that, but it's showing you what I'm moving there, and recognizes another one as a different thing. So in a museum environment or a game, you could put an artifact on top of here, and when you put it on the table, we could have the data of what it is show up around it. Or if you're playing some kind of game, like maybe rearranging molecules to make, something, you could have two different molecules, put them together, and it can tell you what you mean in like a science center or something.
It's really like endless possibilities.
I think it's pretty neat.
Yep.
Well, why don't you come this way, Emily? So those are portals into other dimensions. This is the machine that powers it. But
We couldn't just have an illusion that there were these virtual backgrounds or these physical backgrounds for everybody to be in. Brett had to make our life difficult and have some kind of logical explanation that there's some piece of machinery that powers all of this imagination.
Yeah.
So we kind of mashed up like a jet cowling, pod racer, took some plywood and some sheet metal and some PVC pipes and a couple trips to the junkyard, and this is what we came up with.
These switches are so cool. It's actually the regular light switch is back there, but the metal turns it on and off with this big handle, so it's very easy to implement too.
And this switch here does nothing.
And this thing's super cool. Do you remember what this one?
It's a battery tester, I think. Battery discharge tester.
Emily, come here. Give me your hand.
No, I'm too nervous. One question is if you still have the bar.
Oh, well, look at this. Hey, Phil, how's it going? He's our director of projects in the Puppetverse. So if you aren't made of felt, you probably didn't meet him. Actually, he's kind of racist against people with skin. He calls me Meat Man all the time, and it's very uncomfortable. Yeah, Han Solo there, Carbonite. We actually, Ben and his team added this new grate up here, also salvaged materials.
Yep. These are just standard cold form steel studs that would be inside a commercial building wall. They're a higher grade structural for walking on, and then we found some salvaged grating from an industrial application and put some glaze on them to make them look a little greasier, Star Trek-y or Star Warsy.
So going into our first pod here, but inside the first one, this is Nemo's submarine, inspired by 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. All this stuff, is functional. There's switches. So this is an old radio that we turned, we just built into the wall. Some of these switches are actually, we bought in bulk, actually from Russia before they tried to destroy the world. This is one of my favorite things. This is a little Fiji mermaid. It actually is built from bones and fish skin, which is pretty cool. We got our little treats over here. Of course, Jules Verne. These oxygen tanks were actually from a World War II bomber that we bought at an antiques place.
Bomber? You bought a bomber?
I bought the whole bomber. It's on the roof.
Some steel beamage. It's not obviously real steel. That's a very technical term.
Is that what they're really called?
Yeah.
I like the beer beamish. These tube lights are so cool too.
Yeah, these are actually just plywood and masonite that we bent and then treated the edges, added some faux texture. These are little half round wood balls that
these are just wood.
And
I love how you added this like I don't even what do you call that?
It's like oxidation texturing
steel. Yeah. Of course, I had to have a hat. I thought this thing looked cool because it looked kind of handmade and vintage, but as soon as I brought it in here, everyone made fun of me. Missed opportunity, though, because I would loved if one of these switches actually turned on a prank in one of the other rooms, so like their seat
would have been
vibrators.
delightful.
And these are actual metal, but some of the other tubes in the other rooms are just plastic.
After Brett found out what the real copper pipes cost, we switched to faux after this pod.
Actually, I might sell these right now. This is cool too. This is functional. This chair was a last minute find too. I think it just complements the room really well. And of course, this curved monitor we just stressed on the back because you're looking out from the outside. It looks really neat. And the keyboard's dope as shit too. Oh my god, dope keyboard. And he knows me so well. Instead of just having a regular old vent, he put this really cool screen over the vent. And then, as a functional use, see these lights out here? There's Emily, who doesn't know how to work down. So these lights out here can indicate, let me flick it on, indicate if you're occupying the room. And they show up on both sides of the pod. Oh, so this door is glazed too to make it actually look like it's looking out. How'd you do this?
This is an epoxy resin that we poured into the void that we created with this ring. There's actually some kind of a creature back there. I don't know how well it shows up on camera, but it's just kind of murky in the shadows.
Spooky enough.
About to wrap up your submarine and drag it under.
This doesn't actually work, and I'm gonna break it someday, but that was salvage as well. Pretty cool. And these latches are what? Refrigerator latches?
Yeah, freezer latches. They're just decorative mainly. We remove the actual part that catches because we'll never be able to get out of the room.
Right, and I'm a child. I would definitely accidentally lock myself in. Going into pot number 2. This is when we started experimenting with wood looks. And again, we do themed entertainment and museum builds. So we really wanted to. This gave us an opportunity to like try out a bunch of styles and themes just to practice our craft a little bit and make a little showpiece. So this is our Knight's Keep, but not like any normal knight. It is actually the knight from Monty Python, the Black Knight, none shall pass. Which I think is pretty cool. This is just a 3D printed helmet, but I did find someone that stitched this on Etsy, and I think it's very pretty. This is actual chainmail. I wore it once, and I'm never going to wear it again. I believe this is your idea to hang all of the garlic and herbs in case there's vampires, I guess. You might have seen it from the outside, but again, Ben's idea was to fill this cavernous space with just a bunch of old documents, thank you.
Parchments.
I'm running out of words to say.
Brent actually used child labor to put the wax seals and melt the candles down.
But this sword is super cool too.
So the stone elements and the wood elements are carved out of foam. It was a neat experiment. And
very stinky.
Yes, very
Don't
smelly.
do that inside if you're doing this on your own.
Yep.
And this chair too is super cool. I found it online, but it actually I found it after we did the door, and it didn't fit in. So don't mind the scrapes in the door.
There's a little visitor portal, and he's been waiting there for a while.
He's looking for the grail. All right, let's check out the rest of the space. Come with me. So this was the old vault from the bank, and since it is waterproof and fireproof, we're using it as our server room. As you can see inside, it's pretty cool. This metal door is on pulleys, which is also really neat. So this, previous to the build out, this was actually, like I said, all open, but we put a conference room in there with some salvage doors that you, the metal on the ends is salvaged, but again, this is our conference room. It's really easy to close. We built this room as well, which is functioning as my office at the moment.
Brett enjoys the thought of living in a post-apocalyptic world, and so he asked us to recreate that for him. And so we used some really kind of cheap grandma's basement brick paneling.
Yeah.
Went over that with drywall and some stucco finish, and had some little details of mesh sticking out, and tried to put that where people wouldn't catch their clothing on it, and tried to get that effect of sort of a crumbling factory setting.
Here's a funny thing. I never had an office. I've been doing this for, 15 years or so. I was like, I gotta sometimes just be quiet and do some work. As soon as I'm in there, I'm like being alone. So one of my favorite parts of this room is actually the door they made. Zombie proof. It's locked! So this, where'd you get the door?
It actually came out of a factory building in Reading. It was just rotting away in the basement, and we figured it might as well rot away in the
rot here. Imagine this is like a Victorian cabinet of curiosities. This is so cool. Somebody made this for me. I love that so much. My wife makes some cool stuff too. Like she caught a fairy and mounted it with all of its weaponry. Look at that staff. That's dope. And this I made. This is a cloud making machine. It's a baby skeleton with horns. Yeah, these are unicorn horns, and this is Bob. So when we first renovated the space years ago, again, Ben's great idea at the time was to put. Actually,
That was not my idea.
Take it. It's Ben's idea.
A lot of bad ideas. Not this one.
To borrow some pallets and then hang them in the ceiling for sound dampening, but then also it just gives this nice visual aesthetic. My daughter, my wife, and my son did one of these in like an entire day, and I was like, and no, we're not doing that. So now there's like.
So you just called your whole family quitters.
You know what? They can look for a new family like she can look for a new job.
It's just turning dark. But
it is. We're going downhill. This is our VR setup. We bought this old workshop table. We used to ring this bell when everybody was in the office and it was time to party. This is a Victorian jetpack. It's only been flown once. The operator died, and this is uniform. So these stairs are actually salvaged too. These are our second set because the other set was too
deadly.
Shallow. Someone was going to die. Let's go into
That's 4.
door number 4. This one is so cool. Space room. So, this one, again, all of them stand on their own as far as genres goes, but hopefully you recognize this guy so you know what actually inspired this room. Got this looping NASA footage up here so our astronauts can communicate with the rest of the astronauts in space.
This was a lot of really fun junkyard finds. The gadget down here is some kind of a vacuum pump. We got lots of neat hosing. This is like a plasma torch lead for welding. Just all kinds of fun buttons and cables and toggle switches and gauges.
These are so cool. And these could be functional too.
That's correct.
I love these. This is just like Ethernet cabling, but just span it across some openings and it looks like space stuff.
This is E-Track. Usually you see it inside of like trailers or in the back of utility trucks and things like that. It seems like it gets used in movies a lot. Once we started doing some research, we were seeing it everywhere.
Oh, wow.
And so it really has that space-like effect. It's pretty neat because you can actually click stuff into it. So it's structural and we hang.
I use that to hang from the chair to pretend I'm in zero gravity.
Yeah, it works for that.
What'd you say this was?
It's a gas regulator, like a medical gas regulator, I think. Mm-hmm. This is our uniform conveyor belt. Brett, of course, already had some space uniforms. And so we made a way to select your uniform up and down. It's broken right now, not working.
And the worst part about this room is how it smells.
That's right. It's actually really unbearable to be in here right now.
Oh, man. So last but not least, I know we went out of order. Room number 3. So this is actually, we started using real wood because we didn't want brain cancer carving the styrofoam, and I think it took way less time.
It was a lot faster with more effective results.
So hopefully someone recognizes what inspired this room. Throw me the whip and I'll throw you the idol. This, again, missed opportunity. If we were doing this for a client, this would actually be functional.
And I think...
Oh, God, no! So these are styrofoam panels again, mounted some LED lights behind it, so it looks like, the sunlight's peering through with the plants. Got little lanterns. This chair was from Mexico, actually. It's, we're gonna break it one day.
And all this rock texture was a combination of carved MDF and foam. Some of the more innate stuff is foam. It was, again, painted and coated. And then some of the lower stuff, because it's such a tight space and there's more contact with people going in and out and, big boulders rolling down from the ceiling once the idols move. We did add a carved MDF just so it's a little sturdier and less likely to break.
Yeah, what's the top of this table made of?
The desk is MDF, it's carved and then coated, painted.
I like the band KMFDM.
I don't know them.
But this is the view if you're sitting at the computer, so that's what's behind you if you're having a meeting. And the best part about these rooms is people in virtual meetings that never met before see our backgrounds. Like, oh, that's a cool virtual background. And then you start touching stuff and they're like, what? Hopefully you recognize what this guy is. Our Chancellor of Technology is quite handy with the 3D printer.
It's the cup of a carpenter.
You chose wisely. Actually, I think that's everything. Thank you all, 2 of you, for attending, or whoever actually attended.
You're exaggerating.
Yeah, thanks for coming to our shit show. Again, I'm Brett Bagustus from Neo Pangea. Check us out online.
And I'm Ben Curry from Birch.
Thank you for coming. Does anyone want to hire Emily?